All right. So I just attempted and failed to read Remnant Population by Elizabeth Moon. I gave up after 1 hour, and in this video, I'm going to explain why. The premise of the book doesn't work at all. It's not just flawed, it's broken, it's completely illogical and crazy and makes no sense and could and would never happen for four main reasons that I was able to identify in the book in less than the 1 hour I spent reading it. So in no particular order, the four areas, not four problems, man, there are many problems, but the four main areas the book doesn't work in terms of its premise. First of all, the behavior of the colonists. So the idea in the book is that a big corporation has this agrarian colony, and they decide to whisk all the colonists away and move them to another planet because the colony has proved unprofitable. So that doesn't work from the colonists' perspective, because in such a situation, in such a scenario, the colonists would either just take control of the planet, because it seems like quite a nice place to live. They're safe, there's no crime, they are growing their own food, they're in no danger, they're not in a war zone or anything. So why would you just allow a corporation to take you to another planet, especially when we get into the details, which I'll do a bit later in the video. So the colonists aren't just going to accept some company saying, hey, let's go. That's the first problem. The first problem area. The second one is technological. So you're in civilization capable of vast intergalactic travel, and yet they're all basically just peasants from the 1930s. It doesn't make any sense. They're using hand-operated sewing machines, and they don't seem to have any technology of any sort. And the notion that, okay, well, I'll get into that in detail. The third area is from the corporate perspective. A major corporation with the power of intergalactic travel would not give a halfpenny fuckpence about some backward failure of a peasant colony. All right, as soon as the colony's bottom line turned red, the population would be written off and the colony would be left to rot in their own shit. That is how corporations operate today. And if corporations were big enough to essentially be empires, you can be damn sure that is how they would be operating. So going into it in a little bit more detail now, the population would not just accept eviction, because they mentioned that the company tells them that they're going to be put into forced cryostasis and thrown onto a ship and moved to a planet. And by the way, they don't know what planet they're going to, and they have no say in what planet they're going to. Why would you just accept that? If you accept that, you're accepting that you're basically just a slave. In reality, they would either take control of the planet, or they would conspire to take control of the ships. That is, and neither of those happen. They all just kind of go along with it. Why would you go along with that? That's crazy. So in order for that to work, the company would need a big carrot or a big stick. Basically, get on the ships or we'll kill you. Or if you get on the ships and go to the different planet, we will give you all this free shit and lots and lots and lots of money. Because these people are leaving their houses that they've built, they're leaving their farms, their jobs, their friends, family. Why would you? It's just crazy. So they wouldn't just leave. That's one big part of the premise that doesn't work, but that's not the only one. That alone would be enough for me to stop reading the book, but it goes on. They're a massively advanced civilization, but the colonies basically seem like they are Amish. But even that doesn't work. I could maybe accept the premise that they are this little backward colony that have chosen to live like that or have been set up like that, but that just doesn't really work, because they understand what cryostasis is. They understand the concept of intergalactic travel and of corporate politics. And yet they seem to be living as Amish. That those two just don't gel at all. That makes no sense. So this insanely advanced civilization, and yet none of that technology, none of that advanced thinking, none of it appears in this colony. They're farmers with no education. So why would the company go to all the trouble of getting them off the planet? I mean, even if the corporation did give a shit about them, which it obviously doesn't, they still wouldn't go there, because it would cost a lot of money to move these people. And why would you move them? They're base human material. They are not advanced experts. They're just a bunch of farmers with hoes and pitchforks. but you're going to send a fleet of ships to get them off the planet and bring them somewhere else at massive cost. No, you're going to leave them to rot in their peasant shithole on their farms. This book might have worked if the old woman staying behind during the flight, if the book had been set in, say, the Dust Bowl, the American Dust Bowl during the great flights from there in the 1930s, that might have worked. If she'd been stay behind on a farm in the Dust Bowl, that might have been good. Or if it was, say, a woman in Ireland staying behind during the Irish famine when her family were fleeing to America, that might have worked. Or maybe a Russian woman staying in her village when the Germans are coming and the population flees east, that might have worked. But in this sci-fi setting, it just doesn't. It makes absolutely no sense. Not the way the author wrote it. In terms of the actual writing itself, the writing is emotionally rich. It's very detailed and it does flow quite well, but it doesn't matter. The quality of the writing doesn't really matter because the premise of the book is so poor. It's so badly thought out and it makes so little sense. The woman in her head, she keeps thinking, I'm not going. And this is repeated several times. Well, of course she's not fucking going. Who in their right mind would get on a ship, go into cryostasis to go to an unknown destination? You could be going into a slave mine for all you know. Like, that's just nuts. Of course she's not going. Anyone with a half a brain cell wouldn't get on those ships. That's not a big deal, of course. It's an awful, stupid, illogical premise. All of that was in less than 1 hour. I got all of that in less than 1 hour reading this thing. So I can only imagine just how bad it would have gotten if I'd continued. But life is too short for shit books with really poorly thought out, crappy premises. So stay away from this one. I'm not even going to rate it out of 10 because I didn't finish it and I don't care to finish it. I never will. It does not deserve to be finished. It did not earn the right to be finished. So basically, the reason I read this is because it was given away as a free book on Audible. It was part of their new free book series, kind of like, it's sort of like a Netflix type setup where you can just choose the one you want for free as long as you're paying the monthly subscription. So that's why I listened to it, but couldn't get beyond the 1 hour point. So yeah, don't read this one.